Oh, can I say evening? Yes, it's 5 o'clock. I can say good evening to everybody. Big smiley face. I'm really excited about this show. I really am. We've got a new supplier. We've got some incredible products, some amazing samples to show you as well. And I'm going to introduce you to our new guest as well. I've just got to explain something. Because of social distancing, you know we can't be together. So Scott is way down there at the other end of the studio. I can't even see him because we've got a wall in between us. So I'm trying my best to ask questions throughout this hour as well, but we'll see what happens. But let me introduce you to Scott, and by the magic of our camera work, of course, we will be able to see Scott. So do send him your best wishes, everybody. Do email in if you've got any questions as well. Scott's ready to demonstrate for us, but of course we have got lots of wonderful products to talk about as well. Let's have a look at the samples we've got in the studio first of all. These are just incredible. They really, really are. Just amazing, stunning pieces. I can say they're artwork because they really are. Now, the name of the company, of course, is Eli Chem. Now, we are going to speak to Scott because he's the guy that knows all of the details behind the business, of course. I can tell you it might be a new supplier to Hochanda. Scott might be a new demonstrator to everybody who's watching, but certainly Eli Chem are not a new company. They've been around for some time. It's a family-run company as well. So can we ask Scott a few questions now? I'm going to try my best. Scott, I'm so sorry. I know you can't see me.
That's all right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, yeah.
Wonderful. Tell us a little bit about the business, where it all started, how long you've been around, and just a little bit of the background.
Yeah, so Eli Chem Resins, we've been making epoxy for nearly 50 years. Company started in South Africa, actually.
Oh, wow.
So the UK side of things, which is where we have all the products now, been going about 20 years. And as I say, family owned. Yeah, nice place to work. We do range. It's the mastercast we're going to be showing today as the resin. And then we have a full range of pigments and everything to go with it.
Fabulous. And we will, of course, be seeing more of Scott through the demonstrations. I'm sure you've got loads of questions you want to ask as well. I've got a lot. I've got to admit, when it comes to crafting, I think by now you know I probably dabble or have been involved in almost every craft that's going. But resin is something that I haven't actually had a lot of experience with. So genuinely, I don't know a lot of the answers to questions that I might be asking. So please let us know if there's something specific you want to ask as well, and we'll do our very, very best. Now, with the first bundle, we have got starter kits for you here. So the first bundle, we're looking at the top shelf here. Now, there's a couple of different options. Now, we have got obviously the resin for you. We've got two different options. One is blackout and one is mulberry. So the difference being obviously the pigment that's in there. But we've got various different products in here as well. Now there is a saving on this as well. You're saving £10 on the bundle. If you were buying these individually, then of course you would be paying a little bit more. So I'm going to ask Scott, first of all, we have got the resin here. We've got two bottles. So obviously there's the resin, there's the hardener in there, Scott. So tell us about the resin itself.
Well, as I say, epoxy resin, as we said. So the mastercast is one of only a few resins actually on the market that is ASTM certified. So that means it's non-toxic. So it's nice and safe within reason to use. Obviously, it is a chemical, so we still have to observe some good industrial hygiene. So gloves. I'm wearing glasses, but you would have goggles. You just don't want to get it, you know, on your skin because it's sticky. But yeah, otherwise, nice and easy product to use. It's a 1-to-1 mix ratio, so it's equal amounts, and that's by weight or volume. Resin and hardener, mix it up, and off you go.
Amazing. And in the starter kit, we've got 400 grams of resin for you. Now, there is more because you've also got in here, well, we have got the different options. We've got a resi-metal. So tell us about the resi-metal, Scott.
Resi-metal is... It's a pigment, it's called a polymer pigment, so it's actually a resin base, so it's almost like resin part A without the hardener. The resin metals have a metallic finish to them, so the blue one that you've got there is, we call it blue steel, so it's just got a metallic flake. We have that in 5 colours, the bronze, copper, gold and aluminium, which is a silver.
Lovely. We do have the different colours available if you want to go for individuals. In the starter kit, you've got the choices of a couple of different colours, but the details, if you want to go for these individually, are there on the screen. 100 grams of the resin metal. Beautiful colour, I've got to say, the blue there. But all of the colours are stunning. We're going to see more of these as well. We've got aluminium, we've got bronze, we've got copper. We've got a golden luster in there as well, so do take a look at those as well. But if you're new to resin, if you're thinking, oh, do you know, I really want to have a go at this and I want everything just to have a go, to get started, it's a starter kit that's probably the best buy for you. Moving on from there, we have a little bottle here called Resi Blast. Now, what is this, Scott?
A Resi Blast is quite a fun product. So we use that mostly when we're doing resin art, so if you're creating a piece with colours. Now, it actually doesn't like resin very much. So the idea is that when you combine multiple colours, the Resi Blast wants to push away, and by doing so, it creates cells.
Yes.
And that's what everybody sort of chases in resin art, is the cells is the sort of magic word at the moment. And that's one of the ways that you can achieve it.
So it's like they're fighting against each other, but they're making something beautiful, aren't they? Because the results that we get from that little fight are absolutely incredible. And then here we've also got in our first item, we've got the resi-tint Plus and a resi-tint Max. Now, what's the difference between those, Scott?
So the resi-tint Plus is a range of metallic powders. So very, very fine metallic powder, 4 different colours. And then the resi-tint Max is their standard colours. So they're just block colours, you know, your blues, greens, yellows, etc.
Okay. Is it safe to take the lid off the powder? Would
Yes,
it be
absolutely.
All right to do
Yeah,
that?
just go easy, because like I say, it's quite fine.
I'm not going to breathe for a minute. Oh, wow. Look at these. Oops. There we go. Look at those, aren't they just stunning? We've got rose gold, aluminium, copper. Oh, we've got rich gold for you as well. Now, individually, $19.99. These are big pots as well. These are going to go a long, long way, aren't they? Of course, in the starter kits, you've got the different options there. You'll see all the details. In this particular option, the one with the blue, we've got the aluminium in there. We have got as well the resi-tint Max, so the block colours as Scott described them, but you have got the aluminium there, or if you want to call it silver, you could do if you want, because it is a beautiful, beautiful powder there. Gorgeous. So you've got 2 options with item number 1, details on the screen, saving £10, £98.94. Everything you need to get going. You're going to create some beautiful pieces of art, I know that. And then we have got more for you as well coming up, but the item number for this one is 989438, so do have a good look at those. Now, when it comes to the blackout option, 20% of the stock has already gone. You were shopping ahead of us as well. Now, we have got another starter kit for you. It's slightly different. There is a little bit of a difference. Now, the reason it's different is because you've got the cell base in here. Instead of the Resi Blast, you've got the cell base. Scott, what's the difference?
Well, cell base is a new product launched in, I think, November last year. It's latest technology. It's another way to create cells. So the idea is that you put it on as a base coat, so you can have multiple colours or just one. And then the idea is that you spread resi-tint Max over the top in a swipe method, and then the cell base comes through from underneath and just creates some very unique cells.
Oh, nice. Wow. Well, again, individually, lots of different colours available with the cell base, but in your starter kit, we've got 2 choices for you. So you can go with the starter kit with pitch black in it, or you can go for the polar white. So you've got those 2 different options there. Another new today, of course, 2 different options for starter kits, very similar in price. There's a slight difference between the first one and this one here. We're actually saving £11 here, the one with the cell base in there, £99.94. Item number 649315. Now, we've got lots of individuals for you. We've got lots of different sizes of resins as well. You will find them all on the website. I can tell you we're already extremely busy across the entire pole, across all of the products there. Do take a look at the different sizes of the resins as well. If you've already been working with resins and you're looking for larger containers, more grammage or whatever you want, you know, the starter kit's got 400 grams, which is a great place to start, but we have got more. We've got individually the 400. We've got a kilogram there for you. We've got 2 kilograms. We've even got 5 kilograms. So if you're someone that's been working with resin for some time and you know what you're doing with this and you're working with it constantly and you want those larger canisters, then we have them on offer. I've never seen anything like that here before, actually, for the amount that we can offer in one go. Now there is definitely a price point for everybody as well, because you can go for the individuals, you can go for the starter kit, you can go for your bigger amounts as well. Now don't forget to check those baskets out. I do want to get to Scott as quickly as possible because I know that he is raring to go with the first demonstration. I am going to ask questions. I'm going to try my best through the wall. I'm having to raise my voice a little bit, but we're going to hand over to Scott right now.
Great. Okay, so the first demonstration I'm going to start with is using the cell base. So the idea is I'm going to put a base coat of the black cell base down, and then I'll swipe some colours over the top. And of course this is all using the mastercast resin. So the first thing we need to do is mix up quantity of this. So for a board of this size, this is a 40 centimetre square board, I'm going to use 300 grams. So that's just under the size of the tester kit, the 400 gram kit that you guys can buy. So I'll mix the resin and hardener together, and then I'll split out the colours and we'll pour it onto the board.
Fantastic. Can't wait to see this, Scott. Now, I have asked if anybody's got any questions to email in, studio@hochanda.com. We have had a question come in, actually, from Bridget. Can we use latex moulds? Can we use this resin with latex moulds?
You can, yes. Yes, you can put this resin into a mould. The only thing to be careful with moulds is that they're not too large. So you don't want to be putting this into a very deep mould. This is more of a coating resin. So you would probably limit a mould at maybe a centimetre, centimetre and a half, only because it's quite thick, which is great for art, so it stays where you put it, but you want to be able to get the air bubbles out of it. So if it's too thick, the air may get stuck in there. But you absolutely can use it in moulds. Just make sure they're smallish.
Lovely. Yeah. Now, I don't want to stop you, Scott, so I'm going to ask questions while you're working there, if I can. So, Bridget did ask about latex moulds, and obviously there's a difference between moulds. We have latex, we have silicone moulds. We've recently just had a one-day special with some fantastic silicone moulds on there, which actually, you've said about the depth there, they would be absolutely ideal. So when it comes to drying time, with the moulds, this is a casting resin. We've got I'm just going to go back a little bit, actually. You've been around for a long time in the UK alone, but you say 50 years.
50 years making resins, yep.
Yeah, so you know exactly what you're doing. There's lots of different types of resins. Now, we've got one particular type here today.
Yes.
I'm sure we're going to see much more of Scott, and hopefully in the future we'll see other resins coming in as well.
Yes.
So just as you're mixing there, we've talked about moulds, we've talked about applying to different surfaces, wooden surfaces, that sort of thing. What else can we do with this resin? Things like jewellery, is it heat resistant?
Epoxy resin generally has a heat resistance of around about 50 degrees or so. So if you placed a cup on it, it would be okay for a period. You wouldn't leave it on there, because you might get a slight mark with it. But yeah, I mean, in all honesty, you can kind of do most things with it. As long as you weigh it out correctly, so 1 to 1, you mix it correctly, it's going to dry no matter what you do with it. It just depends, you know, the sort of results you're expecting, I suppose. But yeah, you can put it into moulds. People use it to cover kitchen counters, or they may make a splashback and put it behind their stove. It's been used in bathrooms. You can use as you wish, really. If you can think it, you can probably do it.
Oh, wow. You've kind of answered another question then. I noticed on one of the pots, I think it was the cell base.
Yes.
You know, I just told you I'd got lots of questions. I've noticed that you can mix these colours for flooring as well. Can you use this resin on flooring, or would that not withstand working on it? You
can do. Again, there are probably other resins. The only reason I wouldn't use this is the hardness of it. So again, we're getting a little bit technical with things, but there are other resins. 2 to 1 ratios tend to be slightly harder, so scratch resistance and things. So this, you may say, if you're being critical, might be a little soft for a floor, but if you poured it on the floor, it would still be there. You just may need to be a little bit careful with it.
Okay. Fabulous. Do you know, I'm asking these questions, and I'm hoping there's answers about different things, because I know you do so many different resins, and I truly am on a learning curve here. And I'd love to see you come with some different resins as well, so we can really sort of go across the board with all the different projects that we can achieve. Now, what you're mixing there, Scott, it's part 1, part 2, you've got the
Yes.
hardener, the resin, it's equal amounts of both.
Correct.
How long would you mix that for?
So generally that's mixed for about 2 to 3 minutes. So what I tend to say is once it sort of starts looking like sparkling water, it's pretty much done. So when you first mix it together, you'll see a line between the two, and you'll tell the two different resin and hardener.
Okay.
You start to mix it, and it sort of goes a bit swirly. You can tell it's not there. Keep mixing it, and then it comes clear. So there's obviously air bubbles in it. You can't really avoid that by mixing it, but we'll get rid of those with a heat gun.
Okay.
But once it sort of goes clear, it looks a little bit like sparkling water, which this pretty much does now. I know that's ready to go, and then I get my pigments ready, and then we'll do the pour.
Okay, lovely.
So, yeah, so we're going to start with the black cell base.
Lovely.
Get rid of that, it's got a cup inside it. One more cup.
Do you find, Scott, that when
Yeah.
you're at home, because of what you do, you're either, it could go either way here, you're covering everything with resin because it is so beautiful, or because it's your work, you tend to avoid it at home. How does it work for you?
No, I mean, it's a lot of fun, and it's very addictive. Once you sort of get the bug and you start thinking about colour combinations and you see effects that happen and you start thinking, so you know, it's a job, but it's also
Yeah.
very fun.
Yeah.
So it's something that we're kind of doing all the time, really. You know, we've got various surfaces at home covered in it, lots of everything at work, obviously. No, it's really good fun. So with the cell base, because I'm doing the whole board to start with, I put more of this in than I will of the other colours, just so you know what I'm doing.
Okay.
So the black goes in there. Put a couple of spoons. It's still not a huge amount, maybe a bit more. Right, so that's in there.
Okay, lovely. We've got some gorgeous colours to choose from with the cell base and all of the pigments, actually.
So we have some sky blue. So we won't need very much of this. That's pretty much the end of the just the spoon, really. So I've put that in there and just given that a little stir.
Have you got a favourite colour combination yourself? Do you tend to sort of work with a colour that you think, yes, that is just the one for me? Or does it vary?
Yeah, I mean, with this product, I quite like the colour combination we're doing now. The black is quite nice. It's quite a deep black.
Yeah.
And then you put some nice contrast over it. And yeah, you know, with a little bit of metallic over the top. Yeah, but nice contrasting colours I like. A lot of people, the ocean colours are very, very popular. A lot of the blues, the whites, the yellows, that sort of thing. Very, very popular at the moment.
We've got some gorgeous samples in the studio. Absolutely stunning.
So now with the powder, with the resi-tint plus, now you can use this in two ways. I tend to mix it in with the resin, but you can just sprinkle it on top of wet resin as well.
Okay.
Which some people call like a leafing effect. So it looks almost like gold leaf because it's so fine, it just sits on the surface. But on this occasion, I tend to mix it in. So
Can you see much difference when you do that then, Scott? If
It
you're
just-
sprinkling it on the top, does it look much different?
Yeah, a little bit, just different effects really. So yeah, like I say, you can be quite controlled. If you sprinkle it on the top, you can place it exactly where you want it.
Okay.
And then you put a heat gun on it and it just sits on the surface. When you mix it in, it becomes more like a golden coloured resin and then it flows with the rest of the piece.
Okay, wonderful.
Right, so the majority of this will go into the base. So we'll do most of the cup there. And then this, as I say, so this is just for swiping over the top. So we'll put a little bit of each in these ones. Okay. In with the gold. Right, so we'll give that a quick stir. You should see it disperses very, very easily, so it doesn't take long. And we've already got our sort of piano black resin. So I'll bring that up from the base.
That is a true black, isn't it?
It is a very much like a piano top black, I would seem to say, really. Right. Okay. So let's get this poured out. So I'd say at this stage, I'm not worried about how it looks. All I'm doing is covering the board. So don't worry, it's going to look a little bit messy, but that's not an issue at the moment.
So just remind us again, Scott, about the board. Sorry, I've got a bit of a frog.
Sorry, say that again.
Is it just a painted board? Is it plywood?
This is just birch ply. It's 9mm birch ply. It's just been sprayed. Just because I'm doing a black piece, I've sprayed it black just to start with. There's nothing else to it really. You can cover just about anything really with resin. The only thing it doesn't stick to is plastics. Other than that, if you want to put it on canvas or metals or glass even, anything is fine really.
So no doubt then we've all got things at home that we could just use, just find and, you know, upcycle.
A lot of people upcycle sort of like tea trays and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Serving platters, that type of thing. So with the ASTM certification of mastercast, it means, again, for incidental contact with food is fine. So we wouldn't do a chopping board or a plate.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want to chop on it and then eat from it with juices and things like that. But if you wanted to use it as a serving tray, like I say, and take something from it, absolutely fine. Right, so there we go. So what we'll do, covering any bits that we may have missed. Now I'm just going to pass a little bit of heat over it, and that will just get rid of any air bubbles that are trapped in there. Also with this process, the cell base, I should have said, it is important that you clean the blade once you've done this. I'll explain why in just a minute, so just give that a wipe.
What would you recommend for spreading then, Scott?
Any flat edge tool really, anything flat and plastic.
Okay, yeah,
literally anything
you can
really.
pick up easily, can't you, little packs of plastic spreaders and things.
Exactly, yeah, anything like that is fine.
Yeah.
Right, so
could
I say
you
pass
use
the
a
heat
credit
over.
card? Could you use an old credit card or something? Would that work?
Yeah, absolutely,
Fabulous. Wow, look at that heat going.
So if you can pick up the sort of almost like a fizzing effect, which is the air coming out of the resin, and it also just puts a little bit of heat into it.
Can I ask then, Scott, because you're using heat there, would it make a difference if you were working with the resin on a very hot day as opposed to a colder day? Is there anything you need to watch out for?
A little bit, yes. I mean, with the hot weather we've had recently, two things really with resin is it will go off a little bit quicker, so your working time comes down. So where you've got normally about 25 minutes, that'll come down to maybe 20, maybe just under if it's very, very hot. And also the viscosity or how runny the resin is.
Yeah.
So that will alter. So the hotter it is, the runnier it is. So you may find that you get different effects. The colours merge more, things like that really. But you can still do it in both. It's just one of those things. You sort of try it when it's cold, try it when it's warm, and see what sort of effects you get really. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'll start with this, which is the granite grey.
Okay.
And that gives me a nice contrast. And then what I'll do is I'll lay the colours on top of one another, and then I'll swipe them across, and fingers crossed, we'll get some cells.
I can't wait, honestly. I'm really excited about seeing the results here. Now, just as you're pouring there, Scott, we've had another question.
Okay.
Now, this is from Anna.
Okay.
And Anna's asking, can we use mica powders that we use in general crafting, in paper crafting, mixed media? We can use those as well.
Absolutely, yeah, mica powders. I mean, we get asked a lot, you know, can we use all kinds of stuff really that people ask, and the majority of the time it's a case of just trying it. Unless it's got a lot of water content in it, trying to avoid things with high water contents. Outside of that, just sort of give it a go really, as long as you don't add too much. Keep it to 1 or 2% maximum compared to how much resin you're using. Generally speaking, it's okay.
Oh, lovely. Thank you, Anna, for that question. Yes, anybody that emails in, we will try our best to ask as many questions as we possibly can. So if there's something that we haven't asked yet, do let us know. There you are. And perhaps you've heard of Eli Chem before, because they have been around for a long time. So you could let us know. Obviously, new suppliers here at Hochanda, but you may have come across them before and been using the products. Oh, look at this already. We've got details running across the bottom of the screen there. So email to studio@hochanda.com. I'm just going to ask Scott there. I can see how you're layering up there. Is there a particular technique that you would advise doing those?
Again, not really. It's just a case of, you know, I try and layer them to contrast. So a
Okay.
light colour versus the black to start with, and then a darker colour, and then a lighter colour, and then a darker colour, and then the gold. And I generally put the gold on top. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. It just depends on the outcome that you know that you're looking for.
Of course.
So I'm going to swipe. So the idea behind this is I'm just going to use very light pressure. I don't want to drag the resin off the board, and I just want to move the colours over the top of the black.
Yeah.
And then in theory, the black will come through and we'll get some cells. So let's give it a go.
I can't wait to see this. So quite slow, not too much pressure.
Yeah, so I'm just going to drag it across there. So as you can see, we look at this area here.
Oh, look at that blue colour coming through.
That we're starting to
wow.
see some cells as they're coming through. So it's important at this stage to clean the blade between each swipe, and the reason for that is I don't want the black on top. I want to make sure I keep the black underneath. So when I pull it across, obviously I'm picking up black on the blade. Make sure that stays underneath. So just give it a wipe every time. So we'll go for another one here.
Oh my goodness, Scott, that looks amazing already. You've only done one swipe.
So we're just going nice and light. We're going to use a bit of angle, and then we'll get some of the colour on there. So this is another one as well. So the finer the colour on the top, so the sort of the thinner the layer of the colour, the more fine the cells become.
Yeah.
So where it's thicker, obviously the cells are chunkier. Where it's thinner, the cells become a bit finer, which is something that you can work on if you're trying to design a specific piece.
We've had another question come in as well, Scott. I think I know the answer to this because I've seen somebody talking about this recently, but I'm going to ask it.
Okay.
Jill has emailed in and she's asking, could we use the resin for a beer top table?
Yes, you can.
I think what Jill's probably talking about there, you know, you get the cables or the barrels and things like that, and you can put the beer tops.
Yes, very much so.
And
yeah,
then
we have a
put
lot
the
of
resin
customers.
over the top, can't you?
A lot of customers do that with pennies, playing cards, bottle caps, all kinds of stuff. Absolutely, you can just use it clear. You don't have to colour it, of course.
Yeah.
Just have it clear. It's not a problem at all.
Lovely question.
So that's that. So
we have got another question actually from, I believe this is from Janet. I'm going to say just exactly as it's been emailed in. I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase before. Do you know, can we do what is known as a dirty pour with the resin?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, you see, just knows everything.
What I generally do, so this is obviously cell-based specific, but on the next piece, I kind of do. Yes, you can. I'll show you like a sort of a mini dirty pour, if you will. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, you just mix. That's basically where you mix the colours in the same pot and then pour it out, rather than controlling one on top of the other. But yeah, not a problem at all. Right, so let's finish this off.
Now, just as you're finishing that off, Scott, just to let you know, we're about halfway through the show, and I know you were keen to get in, hopefully, 3 demonstrations throughout the show. So we'll let you finish that one off. Probably do a bit of a recap and let you reset, because we do want to allow you as much time as possible. I've got to say, this effect is absolutely incredible. It really, really is. Look at the colours coming through there. And I'm only looking at this on the monitor because we're so far away. I know when I see this up closely, this is going to look incredible. It really is.
And then what I do is I just pass some heat over the thicker section, and what that does is it makes it a little bit runnier for a short period of time, and that will help the cell base come through, and then we'll get some more cells in this area. But this will keep developing now for next 10 minutes or so. It'll sort of keep changing, the cells will move, and yeah, and there you go. That is about it, really.
Wow. Oh, I love it. Can't wait to see that again then in about 10 minutes time. Fabulous stuff there. Now, we will let Scott get ready for another demonstration, of course. That is amazing. Do you know, I've had to come close to the monitor because I was trying to see around the wall to talk to Scott, and now I can see the monitor closer. That is just amazing, isn't it? Let's just give you a reminder of the starter kits again. Now, the bottom option that we've got here, that's got the cell base in there. That's the one that Scott's just been using. So you've got a couple of different options there. You've got the pitch black in there, which is the one Scott's used there. We've got the polar white option as well for you. So details on the screen are for option number 2, so to speak, because we're pointing that one out because of the cell base in there. Now, you've got 2 payments of £49.97 if you're going for the starter kit, so we can break that down for you. Saving £11. If you go for all these individually, that's the saving that you're making. Item number 649315. Just to go through everything that you're getting in that kit. Obviously, you've got your resin and your hardener there together, 400 grams. Now they would be £24.99, which is a great price. If you do a comparison, that's a great price for your resin anyway, but you're getting more. Obviously, you've got the spatula in there as well. You've got your cell base, as I say, options of the black or the polar white. We do have other colours available that you can buy individually. 75 grams for £19.99. So you can get extra of those if you want. I love this. You've got your resi-metal. Look at that blue, isn't that gorgeous? So the metallic effects, again, you can get these individually. We've got lots of options in colours for you, but on the particular kit we're looking at now, the starter kit, you've got the option of that ultramarine in one kit, and in the other one, which one is this? It's, we'll just see if we can just double check. It might be the, oh, let's have a look. We'll double check on the colour. I don't want to say. I think it might be an aluminium, that one, but we'll just make sure. Right, then we also have the resi-tint and also the resi-tint max. Now the resi-tint max is more, as Scott described it, a block colour. The resi-tint plus is the metallic, those powders. Now you're getting an awful lot for your money there in that one pot. That is a beautiful colour. Is that the rose gold we've got there? Yes, it is. That's the rose gold. Isn't that stunning? Wow. Do you know, I'm not going to tip this one up because I don't want to lose any, but let me just take the lid off. This is super fine. Now, we did have the question in asking about using other pigments and mica powder. Yes, you can, but look at this. This is so fine. It's absolutely beautiful. That is a huge pot. It really is. So have a look at those different choices there for you. With the Max, the Resi-Tint Max, you've got the classic red and you've got the granite grey in that one. The other option, you have got more ultramarine and mulberry, but there's more colours individually, remember. So these are more of a liquid and they're not metallic, so you've got lovely combinations there to put together to make the most incredible results that we can see around us. So for the starter kit that we've just gone through there, we'll give you the details again. £99.94, we can split that down, £11 saving. This is going to go and creates the most beautiful items. Think about the things you've got at home. We've heard about the different surfaces you can apply this to: wood, metal, glass, just not plastics. Don't like plastics quite as much. 649315 is the item number. There is another option for your starter kits, the top row, this one here, slightly different, because instead of the cell base, you get the Resi Blast in there. Now you still get those cells, but it's a different technique, so it's entirely up to you. There's very little difference actually in the price between these, but it's entirely up to you which one you go for. Maybe it's the other colours and the other products that are going to make your mind up on these as well, because of course the Resi-Tint Plus, that's the aluminium in there. That's definitely the aluminium. You've also got the Resi-Tint Max in here as well. We've got a couple of different options here. We've got the ultramarine in there again, and we've also got, oh, what's this one called? What was that one, Lottie? Can you, the resi-metal in item number 1. Is that an aluminium oxide as well? So blue steel, right, blue steel is the other one then. That beautiful effect there. Then with the Resi-Tint Plus, we have got here, which is this? This is rose gold again, the aluminium and the copper. The rich gold is available as well. Do you know, just have a look at everything on the website. If you're going for the starter kit, you want to add any extras in. If you've got that flexi basket open as well, you can split the cost. Don't forget that as well. I can see myself on one of the monitors, but I'm looking. They're catching my eye all the time. These gorgeous samples here. They're absolutely beautiful. Honestly, they are stunning. I hope they're coming across as well on screen as they are here in the studio. They are stunning with that resin effect there. So do have a good look at the details. I do want to get back to Scott as soon as possible. We're just looking at another one here, those sort of ocean colours there, the blues, the whites. Look at the cells here as well. Beautiful. Absolutely stunning. Oh, wow. Lottie loves the blue. I can't choose a favourite, actually, favourite combination. I think you could put anything together and it's just going to look stunning. The blue and the gold together there, that is gorgeous. We do have a sample, actually, on one of the circles that's got it looks like a copper, maybe it's a rose gold in there, with the black, and there's a flash of a beautiful green running through it as well. I don't know if we can find that with the camera. It is right in the centre of the studio, our lovely director Hannah, if you can spot it. Under the screen. Wait until you see the green flash in this. It's absolutely stunning. It's kind of a turquoise, isn't that gorgeous? Love it, absolutely love it. This could be the top of a table, it could be something that you're upcycling. Let's get back to Scott though, I think he's ready for another demonstration. Let's have a look now on the website, of course. Anything that you add into your basket, you can find there the different colour options. Do look at the drop-down menus, add whatever you need in there. If you're going for a starter kit or anything with flexi-buy options, of course you can split the cost of anything else that you're adding in there. We've got some huge amounts of resin. If you have been working with resin for some time and you're looking for bigger canisters, we are going right up to, oh, I think it's 10 kilograms in total with the hardener. So enormous amounts to be working with. Right, Scott, are you ready? Are you okay? Wonderful.
Ready, I'm just about to start mixing the resin. I've got my colours laid out. I've got my board in place, so yeah, I'm ready to go.
Lovely.
Right, so we use the same amount. We're going to use 300 grams again, or 300 millilitres. It's effectively the same.
Okay.
So we'll get that together. And maybe I can show you this time what I mean about when it sort of starts to get ready, the resin, as in when you, so you can see when it's ready to pour. Oops. Right, let's get that in there.
What is it about plastic then that the resin doesn't like? What is the reason it doesn't like plastic?
It's essentially because the plastic doesn't have any real texture to it most of the time. So it's completely smooth, so it can't get what they call a key. So there's nothing for the resin to actually sort of bond to, and that's pretty much the reason, really.
We are trying to reduce plastic anyway, so that's maybe a good thing.
Yes.
Make sure you upcycle as much as you can.
Right, so I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but you can see there's a line across here where you can see the difference between the resin and the hardener, so you know that you've got two. So don't put, you know, sometimes you put resin and then you get talking and you put more resin in, but this way you can look at it and you know that you've got resin and hardener because they're both quite clear. So when you start mixing it, as I say, the first initial it goes very swirly and it kind of goes, I don't know again if that picks it up, but it's sort of slightly cloudy. But we just keep mixing through that, and then, like I say, once it goes back to being clear again, that's when we pretty much know we're ready to pour, because we don't want to, if we undermix it and we pour it out, then it won't dry properly. So you come in the next day and your piece of art will be lovely, but it will still be sticky.
Okay.
Which obviously we want to avoid.
You're making me smile, Scott, because Hannah, our lovely director, was chasing you with the camera there.
Oh, sorry.
No, you were looking at the line, you were showing us the line and you'd got it sort of at eye level. And then you loaded it, so the camera was kind of chasing you. It was quite funny to watch it. No need to apologise, you're doing an amazing job.
Not quite used to it yet. Perhaps next time.
No, honestly, Scott, you're doing an amazing job.
Right. So, again, I don't know if I'll hold it in one place this time, but you can see it's started to become a little bit more clear now. So we've lost the line, obviously. It's not as cloudy. It's starting to look a bit more like sparkling water. Yeah. And that's sort of what we're looking for. So generally we get it to that stage, and just to be safe, we'll keep mixing for another minute or so, just to be on the safe side. Now, also important with this one, we should say, always make sure you scrape around the sides and the base of whatever you're mixing it in. You don't want unactivated material to cling to the side. You pour it out and then you've got sticky patches. So just be thorough with the mixing. That's the most important thing, really.
Okay. Could we use something like a wooden spatula to mix with? Would that work? Or
yeah.
Yes, would
yeah,
that be
you can
okay?
do, absolutely. Yeah, again, I mean, you know, anything you've kind of got laying around, really, as long as it's sort of clean, gives it a good mix. Yeah, that's fine. Sometimes people mix their resin for the first time or second time in you know, like a glass jar, like a Pyrex or something like that. Don't do that because it does stick to glass. And that's an expensive mistake sometimes people make.
Yes, and use utensils that you're not going to use in the kitchen. Just keep them for your resin.
You can reuse these as well. So if you allow the resin to dry, say tomorrow, there'll be dry resin around the outside. But if I just flex the plastic, because the resin doesn't stick to it, I can pull it out. And then I've got a clean jar again to use.
Do you know, I'm glad you said about that, actually, because I would have thought either would you throw it away, and how do you safely dispose of it, or
because
you
there's no
can't just
real
wash it out? So yes, that's wonderful to know.
Yeah, there's no real point in trying to clean it when it's still wet because it's so sticky.
Yeah.
You just end up chasing it around the glass or the cup. So the best thing to do is to, when you're finished, put it on the side, come back tomorrow, and if you leave the mixer in it with a little bit in the bottom, give it a flex and just pull it out with the end of the mixer and it just comes out clean pretty much.
Fabulous. Now, being a true crafter, you see, I wouldn't want to waste anything more than I need to. So if you've got any little spare bits, I'm sure, especially when we think about mixed media and all the sort of the things that crafters create with, and bits of jewellery maybe, pictures, photographs, things like that. Could we use any spare resin over those as well?
Absolutely.
If they haven't got the colour mixed in?
Yeah, perfect for that. If you just want the clear over it, or anything. I mean, a lot of crafters will take the overspill, so the bits that pour onto the plastic, allow that to dry. The next day you can cut that out and make it into earrings.
Oh,
all kinds of stuff. Because some of the best work is overspill, actually.
Yes, so make sure you use a piece of plastic underneath. Don't use newspaper or anything like that. Make sure it's
generally
plastic, so
use
you
plastic.
can reuse what's there. Do you know, even if you are... Oh, well, actually, it's made me think of another question. So, because you've got some fabulous products to mix in here, you've got the cell base, you've got all the different pigments.
Yeah.
Can we paint over the top of the resin? Can we do that? Would it work?
Yes, you can. The only thing to mention on that is if you have used Resi Blast, you would generally leave it, because Resi Blast can sometimes, of course, leave a bit of a repellent film on the top. Okay. So if you paint over it, you might find that it repels. Yeah. But with the cell base and just clear resin, yeah, you can do. Yeah.
Fabulous. I'm just thinking of all those little drips that we've saved.
Yeah.
We could put them on canvases for our mixed media backgrounds, and then quite often we go over the top with gesso and then use other mediums as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can add texture and that sort of thing.
Absolutely, yes,
Lovely.
correct. So with this pour, not going to use a cell base. We're just going to go in with, so I've got 3 colours of the resi-tint Max, and I've also got the silver in the resi-metal. Okay. But I'm going to do, I suppose, what you would call a kind of a mini dirty pour. So I'm going to put the colours into one. So I'm going to put the silver in the white and the red into the black.
Right.
Give it a little stir, but not a full stir, obviously, and then pour it out onto the board.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this. I think, was it Janet who sent in the question about the dirty pour? I think it was. Yeah,
whether you can do dirty pours and things. So, yes, let's find out, shall we?
This looks so much fun.
It is quite addictive. Once you get going with it, you're always thinking about colours and what can I do here, what can I do there. Right, so let's start by putting some of the silver into the white.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I don't want to blend them. I just want to kind of like a sort of a streaky effect, I suppose, almost. So just give it a bit of a twist, and that's enough. So I'm just going to pour straight across the board as a bit of a stripe.
Okay.
And this is what we call controlled, as controlled as resin can be.
What I love about this, Scott, is every single time you could use the same colours all day, every day, but you're still going to get different effects every time.
Absolutely, you really do. So as you can see, I've kind of got like a marbled white and silver effect here. I'm just going to spread this a little bit by moving it across the board. And you can spread it with a plastic spreader again, or you can move it with a heat gun. I find that this method works quite well for me. Right, so we're going to do basically the same sort of thing with the red into the black.
Okay. Now, for anyone that's been looking at resin and thinking, do you know, I'd really like to have a go at this, but I'm not sure where to start. I'm not sure what to buy, how many different products I need. The starter kits are really good value, actually, because independently, if you're buying all the ingredients, then you might miss something that's important as well. Obviously, you've got your resin and your hardener in there, you've got the cell base, or depending on the option you're going for, there's a little bit of difference between the options, but you really have got everything you need to get going.
So we'll spread that.
Oh, I'm loving these colours again. Look at that.
So you get some really quite...
That red works so well.
Yeah, it works quite nicely in with the black, I think. I'm going to actually bring it back a little bit this way as well. As I say, there's no right and wrong answer with how you decide to do this. It's really just a kind of a trial and error. You keep going, you keep having a play around. You might find that moving it in a certain way. We get people pour it through a colander out onto a board just to create different types of stripes. It's really entirely up to you.
Would it, this might sound silly now, but because you said colander, would it work through a sieve or is it too fine?
I mean, no, it would work through a sieve. Yeah, you would just get more of a blended colour, I suppose. But yeah, again, no right or wrong answer, entirely up to you.
Oh, I can imagine. Do you know what? Using, I'm just thinking, could you? I'm full of it today. I'm just watching what you're doing then, thinking in miniature how lovely that would look as a pendant for a necklace. If you used a syringe, obviously without the needle bit, you know, we use them for glue, for silicone glue, that sort of thing. Yeah. Could we draw some of the silicone up with there and have a controlled sort of effect, similar to what you're doing now, but in miniature scale?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right, let's put some more on here.
Save those syringes from your silicone glue, everybody. You could make some beautiful pieces for your, maybe I'm thinking you could turn these into bookmarks, embellishments for your albums, jewellery pieces. But I'm just thinking you've got a little bit more control that way. So if you've got particular colours that you want to see, or you want to get a particular sort of effect.
Right, so we're pretty much got the board covered, but I will see. So at this stage, I'm just going to move it along a little bit. So nothing crazy, and don't be afraid to get in and move it around if you wish to. You know, push colours into one another. And then what we'll do is we'll get some heat into it, and we'll show you what's called feathering. Okay. So we'll use the heat gun to manipulate the resin a little bit.
Now, as you're talking about heat guns, Scott, I noticed you've got a huge heat gun there. As crafters, we use heat guns for our embossing powders and things like that, but they're not on the scale of yours. Can we just use a regular heat gun that a normal crafter would use, is likely to already have?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I must admit, I'm not 100% clued up on my heat gun technology. But yeah, it's nothing. I mean, the ones that we have there are nothing special. As long as it, you know, it gets a little bit of air, a little bit of heat, of course, to move it around. Yeah, absolutely. Again, you know, give it a go, and then you're finding, you know, if you want a little bit more power, then I mean, those heat guns there are relatively expensive. I think they're about £15. Yeah. So perhaps if you decide that, you know, resin art is something for you, it would be worth an investment.
I think if you're doing larger pieces, then maybe it's worthwhile looking for a larger heat gun. But I think for your smaller pieces, a regular craft heat gun would perfectly do the job. Yeah. We've had another question in as well, Scott, from Jackie. And Jackie's asking, can you pour the resin over the top of dry acrylic paint?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, perfect.
That, in all honesty, that is probably actually still what we sell resin for the most. That's probably still the biggest market for it is over artwork. So, you know, whether it be watercolour or acrylic or oil paint or anything like that. That's sort of, yeah, still one of the biggest markets. Right. So, that is pretty much...
We've had some great questions in. Really worthwhile asking for the questions, actually, because there's never a silly question. We often say that. No. There is still a little bit of time left in the show, so if there's anything you want to ask, you can still get in touch with Scott. So, we'll try our very best to answer what we can.
Right, so I've covered the board pretty much, and then what I'm going to do is, basically, I'm going to try and use the heat to push the black into the silver and vice versa. Okay. And we should get some different effects. So we'll pass it over again initially, and that gets rid of the air bubbles. And I don't know if that picks it up, the sort of fizzing effect.
Oh yes, I can see it on our monitors. Hopefully everybody at home can see what I'm seeing there. Look at the blend there of the colours. The black with the red works beautifully. You've got the white with the silver in there. Details on the screen for the starter kits as well. Don't forget, we've got two different options, so do take a look at both of those. Individually, we've got so many different colours of the resi-tints, of the cell base. We've got different size pots of the resins as well, depending on your needs. Oh, just look at the effect here. I love it. look at the cells forming. I could watch this all day.
There we go.
Wow, what a lovely effect. Isn't that beautiful?
So we have, yeah, so that's what's called feathering. So we basically, as I say, yeah, push the silver into the red and black. And it just creates, it sort of softens the edges where the colours just butt up with one another, where you poured them and you've just spread them. It just softens that up and creates some really, really nice effects. And you end up with quite a lot of depth where you've got silver over black over red.
That is gorgeous.
Now, I will then try not to spoil it, because there's always a place where you say, should I step away or should I add some more? But what I'll do is, I'm going to take a little bit of the, I think this is the rose gold. And I'm just going to take a little pinch and add some along the edges, and I just think it gives it a nice sort of effect, really.
Right, I'm pleased you're doing this, actually, because we spoke about this earlier, that the effect of sprinkling on top of the resin rather than always mixing in.
Exactly. So you don't need very much. Just take a little dab.
Oh, look.
And it
does look like gold leaf, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of sits like a sort of a leafing effect, and you can just add a few bits here and there. You know, don't go mad with it, I think, because it can take over a little bit with how the light hits it. But, you know, a few effects here and there just gives it a little bit of...
So maybe less is more then?
I find, generally speaking, yeah.
Yeah. You can always add, but you can't take away,
exactly,
as we often say.
Exactly. So it gets to this stage. Now, the last thing I might do, if I can see it.
Now, just as you're finishing off there, Scott, I'm just going to let everybody know that you are back at 9 o'clock tonight. So obviously, we've got free view starting tomorrow, but hopefully those of you that can watch tonight live, then 9 o'clock with Leonie, of course. Scott will be back. If not, then of course you can catch on rewind. As of tomorrow, we have got free view from 7 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. That's available. Just remember to retune those TVs if you haven't already done so. Just while I'm here, I just want to show you as well, as if you're not convinced already, because I know you are, it's been a busy hour. Let me just show you the prints that we've got here. So just using the clear resin, that's without any other pigments in there. Now what I've got here, I'm going to pick these up one at a time. I've got to explain, there's been a piece of sticky tape down the centre, so there is a sticky area where the tape has been. But this is the same print, so you can see one side where the resin has gone over the top, and the other side where there's no resin. And look how it makes the colours pop. Look how the detail comes to life. Look at the eyelashes there. I'm trying not to get too much glare for you. But what a difference it makes. I've got another print here as well. Exactly the same thing. It's had a piece of tape down the centre, so we've got kind of that cloudy, sticky area. But you can see the difference between the resin side, look at that, and the side that hasn't had the resin on the top of it there as well. So it really does pull those colours out. What a difference it makes. And then once you start applying those colours, those cell bases, the metal effects, those pigments, it's just incredible what you can achieve. Scott, we're almost at the end of an hour now. It's absolutely flown by. Details are still on the screen there if you want to go for certain items. Now, the one on the screen at the moment is just for the resin. Now, that's for 1 kilogram. An awful lot of you have gone for that. So that tells me maybe you've been working with resin for quite some time and you just want to go for those larger amounts. The starter kits, we can bring the details for you again as well. Everything is there on the website. Don't forget that there is another show at 9 o'clock tonight as well. I've been absolutely intrigued by all of this. I've got so many questions still to ask Scott. And I've got to say, when it comes to Eli Chem, it's not just the one type of resin. Hopefully we'll see other types of resin in the future as well. But as a starting point, this is a really great place to start. Covering metal, covering glass, covering wood. You know, if you've got just upcycling bits and pieces, if you've got a piece of furniture that you're not keen on, then transform the top of it. You'll have fun doing it and it's going to make a wonderful piece that's going to be a talking point in your home. Details on the screen there for the starter kit or one of the starter kits. Do take a look at the options there. You are making a saving. We have got a flexi buy option as well. So anything else that you're adding into your basket, you can split the cost of. If it's just a starter kit, 2 payments of £49.47. But do look at the other pigments, the other bases. We've got the cell bases. We've got some gorgeous colours available. Just finally, before we go, Scott, is there anything else you want to add right at the end of this hour? that you want to let us know? If there's anybody who's sitting on the fence who's thinking, do you know, is this for me? What would you say?
Give it a go.
Give it a go.
So much fun. It really is. It's really easy. It's as safe as it gets with resin, so there's no odour or anything like that if people are concerned. Just give it a go. You can't really go wrong.
Fabulous. No odour, non-toxic, but do still wear your gloves, obviously, because it's a sticky substance. You're talking about 50 years of experience for Eli Chem here. Started in South Africa, here in the UK. The business has been here for 20 years plus. Family business as well, which is absolutely amazing. I'm looking forward to the 9 o'clock show, or I would be if I wasn't driving home. I'm going to have to get on rewind myself. Do stay with us though, much more to come. Come back and see Scott at 9.